Welcome back to Vintage Classic Solutions. I'm your host, EJ Parker. Thanks for joining me today. Today we have a book in front of us about rubber toy vehicles, Identification and Value Guide by David Leopard. This is a book about vintage and antique toy rubber cars. They're not just made in the USA, some are made, I believe, in the UK, in Canada, in South America. This is a fun book to look at, not just because of its interesting and kind of obscure subject matter, exclusive rubber toy cars, right? Exclusively just rubber toy vehicles, but it's just also a fun book to look at, like eye candy. It's all mostly color. The author did a nice job, so let's just look at it and see. Sorry for that shaky camera. Let's see what we can see. Now this is actually right here a real Sun Rubber toy car. I collect these, so it's kind of in my wheelhouse, and that stinking rubber monkey, get out of it. All right, so let's start. I started collecting these toy cars when I was this is what got me into really antiques. When I was a young kid, probably around 8, for some reason I went to a local antique store and I saw this is the actual one. This is from my childhood collection. This is the reason why I probably deal antique and vintage right now. I just fell in love with everything about these cars. The obscurity, I like the rubber. I like rubber material, just as a material in general. All right, so let's look at this. So I built a collection, and I acquired this book a couple years ago. History of rubber toys. I'll just read a little bit here. Rubber toy vehicles seemed to suddenly appear on the scene in 1935, and almost suddenly disappeared in 1955. Let's examine the circumstances under which they came and departed. That first paragraph says a lot. What happened in 1955? What took over? The plastic era. Plastic, and I mean, we're still in it, right? I mean, everything's made. Nintendo, Switch, I mean, everything's made of plastic now. Tupperware, toys are still made of plastic. You know, what's made of rubber? Things that only have to be, pretty much, if that makes sense. All right, let's just take a look here. This is not really a look at the prices because these books are antiquated as far as the pricing is concerned. Just some great, this is, you know, these old advertisements. Happy little boy with his rubber toy vehicles. Parents liked them because they wouldn't scratch the wood floor, or the coffee table, or the dining room table. These are some great photos. And if you threw them at someone, kids do, it wouldn't hurt as bad as a cast iron. So let's look at this. This is nice. This is nice. Auburn Rubber, very large American maker of vintage, or part of vinyl, of rubber toys throughout the probably late 40s, 50s, 60s. They're out of Auburn, Michigan, Auburn, Indiana, 1939. A lot of these were this rubber use of toys because the war, World War II, they needed metal for the war effort. Raw rubber from Singapore is, what does it say? Masticated in the 3 Banbury mixers from formulas worked out by the laboratory. In these machines, the necessary ingredients are thoroughly dispersed with the rubber. Look at that. Old rubber. Probably smells like rubber in there, right? That raw rubber. Do you like the smell of rubber? I think I do. Oh, cool. More. What is this? Well, let's look down here. The rubber is placed in molds under 2,000 pounds of hydraulic pressure and vulcanized. Folks making toys. I love looking into factories because they're just never clean. It's a factory with all those vats and just old. See, this is the stuff that sells for big money now, like this industrial stuff, these carts. I saw these carts are worth a ton of money, the crates, all this stuff's worth a ton of money. I mean, maybe not a ton, but it's worth money. It's worth money. Some of the stuff is worth a ton of money. Wow. Man, I Love it. Industrial America, Midwest. All right, we got more rubber toy manufacturing photos. On this conveyor, the assembling is continuous, including dipping, assembly of wheels and axles. See the women painting. Wow, that's cool. All those toys. Wow. Up here, they're finishing the products. I know the rubber products had a mold, and within that mold there would be like a seam, and the seams would be sanded, finished. Let's see what else we got here. Auburn, Indiana. Beautiful, progressive, hospitable. So like a lot of these were made in Indiana and Ohio. Barberton, Ohio. Akron is the rubber city, very close to where I live, about 40 minutes south. Colors. Now this is like the fun part. Look at these just beautiful toys. Late 30s. You can see the pricing. Pricing, I don't know. Some of these are very obscure brands that I, even as a collector, do not encounter. Never in the wild, and just even on eBay, because usually the sellers don't know what they are. It's some obscure rubber manufacturer. Now Auburn is very well known, probably the most well known. But there are obscure makers and folks just like vintage rubber car, $15. And you can get lucky, but I mean, you gotta just stay devoted to watching vintage rubber cars or antique toy rubber cars as a title, saved title for eBay. And I got a lot going on right now. This is, oh, that's great looking. A 30 AA15, that 38 Buick. I love that green with like that mint green, the double green person driving. That's rad. Man, so stylistic, right? They would put a bank or some kind of stamp for like a manufacturing promo. Now these you see in the wild. You can find these. These are not unobtainable in the wild. Futurism on wheels. Futuristic sedans, late 40s. Right? It's a pretty substantial chunk of rubber, those earlier Auburns. The later ones were more flimsy, almost vinyl feeling. I have a show on my channel if you're curious about these. I have a show devoted to my collection, and you get a close-up look at the various textures and details. Here we have Auburn still. I have a few of these. Auburn, these are earlier. Ambulances are always kind of cool because they always have unique shades of white or beige. It's kind of interesting. Box. United Transportation. These are great. The colors just looks like bubble gum, just kind of candy. I don't know. There's something about these colors. It's like a gloss. Sometimes they're ultra gloss. This is what they look like raw. That black raw rubber out of the mold, and you see how they got to finish it on the sides, and of course paint it. The earlier rubber toys were more of a grayish and they were natural rubber, where the later ones, I would think post-war, World War II, were synthetic and more of a blackish rubber. These are classic. Tractors have the obligatory missing farmer head. They always have the farmer's head missing, usually when you find these in the wild. These you can find, but they're always missing the farmer's head, always. Just the way it is. But these are great. These are super classic. Look at that. Just the farmer on his tractor. We all like that one. Farmer on his tractor. Those are great. What else we got? We got some agricultural things here. Plows and stuff. You don't see those. I think those are just prone to breaking, those little pieces, because it's rubber and it gets brittle over time. Again, I mean, it's not, we're thinking like rubber, like not like a rubber jiggly item. This is like a stiff, I mean, I can't squeeze it. There's no give to it, but it is, I mean, you can tell it's a rubber though. It's like a stiff, hard rubber. It even smells like rubber. So they break. I mean, they chip. They could crack. You know what I mean? I have this tank in my shop, and it's cracked in half and missing the head of the driver. Huh. All right. Vintage and antique toy rubber cars and vehicles. The futurism is just a great detail with these. A lot of the makers included, futuristic elements, and it just makes them just very unique looking. Oh yeah, the bikes. Motorcycles are always big sellers. They've always been. Submarine, that's hard to find. I'd like to have that. You don't see those. Auburn also makes baseball players, and those can command like $30 to $40 a player, and they're the size of like a clothespin. Excuse me. Battleships, these are great. I don't own any of these. I would like to have one of those though. Train. Plastic vehicles. See, these are like the later Auburn, right? They look like this. They go flexible vinyl. Sun Rubber. This is what this toy car in front of you is. Sun Rubber is Barberton, Ohio. They made nice futuristic looking toy cars. This is the blueprint of their first vehicle, a lovely coupe, 1934. So exactly 90 years ago. That was made 40 miles south of where I am right now, in Barberton, Ohio. This is what I specialize in as far as a vintage toy, antique toy car collector. These Sun Rubber toy cars. I have most of these. Just look at it, the futuristic look. Super great. And they're not too expensive. So something you can afford, or I can afford, and you don't feel guilty, you don't break the bank. I mean, that car right there is gorgeous. I have that. That can cost you, maybe if you're lucky on eBay, $20, give or take. So, they're affordable. Prices can be, of course, much higher, but if you take your time, it's not unobtainable. So here we go. This is great. Pre-war, post-war. This smells more synthetic, and this smells just more natural rubber, if that helps at all. And you can see these under your chipping paint. Because, World War II, technology advanced so much, companies developed synthetic rubber, and then toys, it was cheaper, and companies manufactured it. Now, this is valuable, this trailer. If you find that, that's worth money. This is desirable. I have never seen that. And it gets a big dollar on Fleabay and auctions. Futuristic trucks, I have a few of these. These are great. Just futurism. I don't think they're based on real trucks. They're just, design. Someone's imagination. These are great as well. These ambulances and these race cars. Some of these can fetch a big buck with logos or various promotional things for crossover reasons. Got people collect various memorabilia from various events. A tank, that's great. These are always broken, the wings, for obvious reasons, and those propellers are always missing. I do have one plane, and it's in very nice condition. It's a beautiful toy. There's like nice detailing. It's thoughtfully painted. So Mickey Mouse on a tractor. Let's see, Mickey Mouse. I have this one in an airplane. I bought it in a barn when I was a kid, and the head's missing. It's a substantial chunk of rubber. I love that box. Look at that box set. I want to find a box set of Sun Rubber cars. Sometimes called Sunruko. Yeah. What else we got? The Rainbow Rubber. Now you get into the more obscure rubber toy car companies. So Auburn and Sun Rubber are your heavy hitters, the names to know. These are the ones that are more obscure, more valuable, in my opinion, just because they're more rare. You don't see these. You might see like 2 of these a year in antique stores in a shelf. and they might be 40, 50 bucks. You don't see these out in the wild, and if you do, you're a lucky individual. Gorgeous. I think I have one of these. Just a chunk of rubber in your hand. They're just fun to hold. A fat chunk of rubber. I have that ambulance. It's pretty cool. This is a great one. Firestone Fords. Let's see here. Again, it's like promotional vehicles. International Expo 1935. Aren't those colors beautiful? Colors are great. You see how the logos are, the manufacturing usually is stamps or embossed on the bottom, usually always. Sorry for the glare. Sebring. See, yeah, so a lot of these companies I just have never dealt with. The Perfect Rubber Company. See, I've never owned, and I probably will never own an item by this company. Just because it's these small little companies, and you know, it's beautiful. Look at that. 36, let's say Pontiac. I mean, you'd have to be like random luck to find one of those. Because you got, like the luck of the dealer knowing that actual brand. You have to own this book. It's a pretty obscure book, you know what I mean? Toyco. But I like obscure things. And I hope you do too. That's probably why you're watching with me. The Toyco label. That looks cool. I love those old school toy cars, like the hubs like that. It's just icing on the cake. Just super old school. Oh, look at that. That is great. That's why rubber's so cool. Like kind of like melted. It's like Gumby. I love it. What is this? 35 Ford Mystery. I love mysteries. Just various manufacturer information. Other pre-war mysteries. There's various companies like unknown makers. It's a fun hobby, and again, you won't break the bank, and it can appeal to toy people, car people, whatever. People that like colors, people that are into textures. If you collect things based on textures, these might be a interesting thing for you to have, just one or two, just to hold it in your hand, and just that means something to me. I like textures. You know, that's why I'm a generalist collector. I have almost like one or two good examples or specimens of the things I like, whereas some collectors will focus on like one thing. Like I love Gumby, I'm just gonna collect Gumby, or I love owls. That's cool. I wish I could do that. I just my shift throughout the year like hovers to different things. Like 3 months I'll be into Native American history and items and relics, and then I'll switch over to antique, like late 1800s baseball stuff, and then I'll switch to, you know, I just hover around stuff. I can't stay fixated on one thing. I guess it's you know, but I learned about a lot of things though, being like having that approach, you know, being obsessed with one thing for like 4 months and then moving on to something else. Because for those 4 months I really study it thoroughly, and I'll own a couple you know, examples of that thing, be it, you know, Native American arrowheads or early, you know, 1900s American pottery or whatever. Here we got Disney. Wow, look at that color scheme. Man, that's rad. Mickey Mouse airplane. Price range 65 to 125 bucks. That's great. Look at that. It's yellow, orange, and green. Tractors. Viceroy Vinyl. That's an obscure company. I don't own any Viceroy. I probably won't. I would love to own one of each of these examples, but I mean, it's like not even a matter of money, because you just can't find the damn things. Like eBay, I mean, there's a Brazilian company I like a lot that I know I'll probably just never find it because they're just so obscure, and to find one up here in the US, I mean, it's not gonna happen, I don't think. This, I think is it. Duravit. Pardon me, Argentina. This company's from Argentina. Look at these gorgeous cars. They're made of rubber. I want one. If I had to pick one, which one would you pick? Let me ask you. Remember that game? Which one would you pick on a page? I would pick probably this one because it has the most character. I wouldn't pick a convertible. That's a handsome, little coupe or whatever, but this is great. This has got more character. And these are pretty large. I think it's larger than that Sunrubber toy car. And they look a little more realistic. And I'm just curious how they feel in hand. Like, is it a gummier, flexible rubber, or is it like that one, stiff, you know what I mean, where it almost feels like a resin. Oh, look at that. I kind of like that one too. It's like a real bland, blocky Ford Falcon station wagon. That's great. These are great. I would love to have all these. I wonder what they smell like. Ooh. See why I want one of these? Look at these things. God, dog it. And I just, I don't even look on eBay. I probably should. This is great. I like how they're all worn off. That looks so great. And they're rubber. Man. Old school pickup. Look at these trucks. There's metal, but it's made like a stiff rubber. Other foreign toys. This is the obscure. Czech. These are Czech, from the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia. Back when it was Czechoslovakia. Oh, look at that one. So back when it was Czechoslovakia, these were created. This is wind-up? So they stuck a wind-up motor in a rubber toy? Oh, man. That is great. You can see where the key would go. Sorry for that glare. Interesting. This Volkswagen's Germany, early 50s. That's great. I love the SAG. I don't know. I even like that with my black glass collection. I collect pirate bottles from like 1650s, 1720s. Really super old black glass bottles. And the bases have sags because when they were blown, like the hand blown glass would just kind of like shift a bit before it hardened. There's so much character. Maybe something about that. I don't know, just like uniqueness, Catalogs. So this is important for collectors, your catalogs, how your precious collectibles came when they were brand new many years ago. Of course, history will repeat itself, but now with the digital age, and I'm sure unless there's some kind of a apocalyptic issue where electricity gets wiped out, people of the future can just jump onto their devices or take their pill and just watch this video or just it'll all be uploaded. Where these catalogs, you gotta hunt these things down just to find this stuff, you know what I mean? These paper things are the kind of things that the old timers at the antique stores make comments about when you find it and you bring it up to buy it at the register. They're like, "Oh, those." They always have some insightful like, "Oh, that's good." You know what I mean? They're always excited someone's buying it, and those things always sell. I have things like this in my store, like catalogs for Heisey glass and various glass makers, mid-century stuff, and they sell, for probably a little bit more than you'd think. Because it's important information to collectors, and even the item itself becomes a collectible. That's very much true in the coin world, where books can transcend just the knowledge, and the book of about coins becomes collectible, in some cases very, very valuable as well. More great sets while I blabbing away here. I thank you for spending your time with me. My name is EJ Parker. This is Vintage Classic Solutions. This book is about vintage vinyl rubber toy cars. Late 30s, 40s, up into the mid 50s, made in the USA, but also made by various other nations. I collect these just because they got They're obscure. I love obscurity. They're unique. They got Art Deco. They got futurism. They got hand painted, quirky details. They're made of rubber. Just things that appeal to me. Oh yeah. Oh, so Sunrubber also made those squeaky 1950s like poodles and babies, and some of those, like the rubber, like for example, like a plush poodle with like a rubber face. Those can fetch a good amount of money, like $400, $500, $600, or more. So keep your eyes open. You never know what you'll find. And until next time, thanks for checking in.